Hi, everybody. This is Dr. John Demartini. And I'd like to continue on our series on empowering all 7 areas of your life, because I believe that you deserve to be empowered in all areas and live a magnificent life. And you know I've said before that any area of your life you don't empower, somebody else overpowers. And with the help of Global One and helping make this possible, I'd like to share with you some ideas about health and well-being today. And the first thing I'd like to say is that many people today have a feeling that they would like to have more energy and more vitality. And they just don't feel like they have the energy to get on and do all the things that they have desire to do. Sometimes at the end of the day, you're kind of drained. And then they sometimes come up to me and say, well, Dr. Demartini, how in the hell do you go day after day after day after day, 7 days a week, 18 hours a day consistently? And I tell them, when you're doing what you love and loving what you do, you have more energy at the end of the day than when you start. And when you're not doing that, you're pretty drained. And in my earlier teens and 20s and 30s, if I wasn't doing what I loved, I was like anybody else. I would have more of drained energy. But I learned to prioritize and delegate things and do what I love doing most and make sure I surround myself with people that can do the rest so I can get on with doing what's inspiring. So I can't wait to get up in the morning and do that. That's one of the keys of energy. So if you look carefully, when you're living by your highest priorities, the things that are highest on your values, and you're doing that, you always have energy for that. I always have energy for speaking, traveling, and teaching, and writing. I can do that day in, day out, to 18 hours a day even. But if I had to imagine myself cooking or maybe driving a car or doing something that's really low on my values, it's like unlikely for me to be doing, and I had to do that day after day, I'd be no different than anybody else. I'd be just as drained as anybody else doing that, unless I took the time to link whatever it was to my highest values. If I could see it on the way, not in the way, my energy goes back up. But if I see it in the way, not on the way, it goes down. So energy is sort of infinite once you recognize that source. It's based on you living congruently and integrally with yourself, the true you. I really believe that everything that's going on in our life, all the signs and symptoms of our body, energy being one of them, is trying to get us to live authentically, live by our highest values. I've said over and over again, you've seen every talk I do, I talk about values. I keep hitting it home because out of all the research in 42 years, that's the key element that makes a person live an inspired life and a magnificent life. So if you want more energy, take everything that's going on. A great exercise is to go through and make a list of everything you do in a month. That means you do some things repeatedly, but within a month, write down everything you do in a day for the whole month. Because there's few variations that occur day by through the week, but anything you might do in a month, write it down. And then ask yourself, how specifically is doing that action going to help you fulfill your mission, your primary objectives in life, your highest priorities in life? And if you sit there and go, blank, then anytime you're doing that, you're going to drain yourself because you're not seeing how it's going to be. There's no meaning to it. There's not inspiring to you. It's not productive. And in the process of doing that, imagine if you have dozens of those things that go on week after week after week, you're just carrying around a load, a weight. Because a lot of emotional weight, a lot of emotional baggage is simply all the stuff that you're carrying around in your memory that's unfulfilling and hasn't been thanked, hasn't been inspired to you. So if you go in there and make a list of everything you do in that month, in that one day, or day by day, and go in there and ask how specifically is it going to help you fulfill your values, if you don't see the link, you'll go blank, but don't stop there. Go find the link. If you can delegate it to somebody else and you're not having to do it, fabulous. You're freed up the energy. There's nothing more inspiring than just releasing yourself from having to do stuff you don't want to do. But if you're not able to delegate it, it's wiser to learn to love what you do, and it will take you to go do what you love, because then you're inspired and you expand your repertoire. So if you go out there and you take a link of what it is that you basically are doing on a daily basis and ask, how specifically does it help me fulfill my highest values, my mission, what inspires me? And don't stop until you get a tear of gratitude on each one of them. Even though you may have 70 things on that list, just take the time to do it. It may take you a few hours to do it, but it's going to save you days of energy. It's going to raise your energy level because you're not feeling things are in the way. You see them on the way. I've done this for many, many people that had chronic fatigue syndrome and that were scattered and distracted, trying to take on too many things from people on the outside that they were minimizing themselves to and blaming and victimizing themselves and overwhelming, and they're just drained. And I've actually had people that had so-called Epstein-Barr virus and labeled that and under treatment for that, sit down and do the distraction resolution process that I mentioned in the prophecy program, and delegate everything that's low priority, get on to doing high priority, prioritize it in a day, put it into a day, and get on with it, and link anything that wasn't linked, and all of a sudden they're fine. They've done 3 years with a chronic fatigue syndrome, and all of a sudden they're back in the game again. I had one gentleman they literally had to stop his company and gave up his company, sold his company, and he thought that he was going to be that way for a long time. Almost 3 to 4 years that went for that gentleman. And we did that process in the program and cleared it right on the spot. That by the end of the program, he was already back in the focus. He's got his new company now. Brand new company started. And he's like 68 years old. He started a new company. He says, I'm back in the game again. And what it was is he was basically in a situation where everything that was going on was no longer fulfilling to him. And he wanted out. And he unconsciously got a way out. He got a symptom just to get him out of there. Most everything we do is a strategy. We don't even know it consciously. But so link everything you do or delegate it. So either go and do what you love through delegation or go love what you do through linking, and your energy levels will go up. Now, what happens if all of a sudden you go through life and you're not linking and you're weighing yourself down with a bunch of stuff that you feel is in the way, not on the way? Well, what is it like? I mean, imagine if all of a sudden, everybody knows what it's like if all of a sudden you go through the day and it's just one thing after another that you feel is in the way. You go, wow, what a day. You're drained. It's just like, need a break. And whenever you're in that mode, because of the unfulfillment from that day, you look for immediate gratification. And your amygdala in the brain, amygdala area of the brain comes online, not the executive center. So your vision is now clouded, your strategies are not clear, and your execution is stopped. Now the amygdala is in there. Now what you want to do is you want to avoid any form of pain, any more of it. I've had enough of it today, and now you want some pleasure. So the most common pleasures that people get from that is they think in terms of food. Food is the most common dopamine driver. That's why we call it consumerism. We want to consume that which is pleasurable to us, and food is what's pleasurable from a primitive level. We want to eat prey. We want to eat like an animal. We want to get our prey to get us feeling satiated. So when we don't feel fulfilled, we look for satiation. So consumerism and consuming food is a symptom of an unfulfilled highest value. I always say that addictive behavior is unfulfillment. It's a sign of unfulfillment. So when you look at work, think about this in your job. When you're going and doing something you're really inspired by and you're just really engaged in it, you go, oh crap, it's lunch? I can't believe it. Where'd the morning go? And you didn't even want to take a break. You didn't think about it. You just wanted to go and keep working. You want to finish things. But if you're doing something that's really uninspiring to you, you're watching the clock, you're looking for a break, you want a break, you want coffee, tea, stimulants, sugar, anything to get you back up again, you want to eat because your blood sugar's down, because you're unfulfilled, and you want consumerism. So many of the problems of obesity today is we don't have people engaged and inspired and fulfilled in their life doing what they love. Think about it this way. Imagine if all of a sudden you've got a major event going on. You're a singer and you're going to sing, or you're a model and you're going to do a big performance in front of a major studio or something, or maybe you're about to do an Olympic medalist, you're going to run for the medal, or maybe you're going to go out on a date that's very important to you, a big one. Anytime you have something that's extremely inspiring and extremely meaningful to you, if you look carefully in your behavior, you'll look at the day or two before, or even 3 days maybe even before, you'll be more moderate, you'll be more disciplined, you'll be more focused, you're more inspired, and you're getting in shape ready for the big event. But if you got nothing happening and you got nothing to look forward to, and it's maybe a Friday night, there's nothing going on, that's when you'll binge, that's when you'll overeat, that's when you have less governance, because your animal behavior comes into play. So if you're not filling your day with things that inspire you, it fills up with things that don't. And when it's not, you get more in consumerism. And obesity is a symptom of this. Many people unconsciously are protecting themselves from issues in their life. They're having a strategy, and food is one of the mechanisms they get as a strategy to deal with the things they haven't seen on the way in their life. And they're not fulfilled in their life. If you go in there and prioritize what they're doing, take everything that they're trying to avoid in life that's painful, that they think is in the way of their life, and go in there and do the DeMartini method on and clear it out, a lot of those subdictions that are driving the addictions calm down, and all of a sudden the consumerism is less. They're more clear, and you get back on the executive center and you're back in motion again. So a lot of obesity and overeating and overdrinking and all the addictive behaviors are unfulfilled highest values. So in the breakthrough experience, I talk about going back to every moment in your life when somebody criticized you who is praising, when somebody praised you who criticized you, and put all the things and events in your life back into order and see that there was nothing but love there. And when you feel loved, you have satiation. Gratitude and love is the greatest satiators there are. Even Henry James said, nothing of the senses will satisfy the soul. The only thing that satisfies the soul is thank you, I love you. So when you're able to say that for you, for your life, for the people around you, you're less likely to overdo the eating, overdo the drinking, overdo the drugs, or whatever it is that's got the consumption. And the same thing for spending, because a lot of times overspending is a compensation for not being on a mission. When you have a mission, you want to invest in a long-term vision. If not, you want immediate gratification. So energy levels are that way. And also, let's look at the body. You have an autonomic nervous system running your physiology. The sympathetic side is involved in fight or flight whenever you feel that something is challenging your highest values. And the parasympathetic side comes on for rest and relaxation and digestion whenever you feel like something is supporting your values. So as you go through life, if you haven't learned by how to balance out and see that there's always support and challenge equally, then you're vulnerable to creating autonomic physiological changes in your body, which we call symptoms, as a reminder to try to get us to be balanced. All the symptoms in our body through the autonomics and epigenetics and down into the cell level that's creating symptoms, which we call disease or diagnosis disease, is really the body's way of trying to wake us up to the side that we're ignoring in our awareness. So if we're seeing challenge without support and a sympathetic comes into play, we're not seeing who's supporting us, who's protecting us, who's playing the other side. If we're seeing parasympathetic side where there's more support than challenge, and we're getting a vasodilation and we get the digestive system on, but our muscles and everything get tight, all of a sudden we get these symptoms. If we don't know how to interpret them, and we're always looking for a feeling good all the time, and hedonism, we're blocking ourselves on listening to our intuitive aspect of our body and physiological responses trying to guide us back to our telos. That's why I tell people in breakthrough and in prophecy to make sure that they learn what their body is trying to say by studying that in depth. I did Prophecy 2, a whole program on 1,000 health conditions on the psychology of that to try to guide people there. So wellness is when you see a balance of support and challenge. How can you have a balanced mind or body if you don't see a balanced world? You got to master the art of looking for the other side. The quality of your life is based on the quality of the questions you ask. And if you ask amazing questions that lead you to a balance and a state of equanimity, your physiology does amazing things and brings wellness. But if you don't, and you hold on to stories and keep running stories and keep running stories like some victim thinking does,